property, were flipping, building. I think you had a small crew of kids that you were like managing and overseeing, and then you decided to make a massive like life-changing decision to move to Florida, which I think most friends, family, everyone else said like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it.
Yeah.
But you and your wife, like in your heart, you kind of like analyzed all the cities across the country. And I remember you like talked about like you just want to get out of Michigan, the weather conditions, the stresses with also like that construction type business, and you want to go to like a higher growth market with more upside. Talk about that journey and like, because I mean, everyone goes through different phases in life, and some people are going to have to make it a tough decision or take a gamble or take a big risk to move to a new geographic region, and it's tough to do. But it ended up paying off for you guys like really well, paying dividends, and then most of your family ended up following you. You're almost like the patriarch leaders of the family, right? Migrated first.
A lot of my friends did too. I'm working on you still. That was a really great learning lesson, because that's when I realized that if you have passion in your heart, you're going to drive forward that much faster. So growing up, when I was younger, we were raised upper middle class before the divorce. We had a condo in Naples, Florida. So we'd go down there once, twice, sometimes 3 times a year. And I always loved spending time in Florida. That was my happy place. We'd spend holidays there, summers there, and it was brutal hot, but we just exercised and got fit. And then in college, we'd go to Panama City Beach. I would do cruises out of Miami and Tampa. I always loved Florida, but I also loved California. I started visiting San Diego. We went to Oceanside. We did a couple of really fun vacations out there. And I had just visited Denver, Colorado, and I was like, this place is amazing too. What I loved is that in California, Colorado, Florida, the sky is blue and the sun is out. I don't care if you're on a mountain and you're skiing in snow. People are wearing t-shirts and getting that sun. And I was getting a seasonal depression. So like in the summer, I would just crush it and go 90 miles an hour. Maybe a lot of people do. In the winter, I sometimes wouldn't leave my basement. I'm self-employed. You have to drive yourself. I just didn't have the drive in the winter. So it was this manic depressive kind of ebb and flow that I was just getting sick and tired of. At the same time, I was getting burnt out from some of the new construction deals, because doing construction is like you get one rehab right, cool. Then you do a few more and sometimes they go right. But it's a brutal business being in construction. Like I have a ton of respect for builders, ton.
Well, especially when you get to larger projects, because you were raising like private capital, interest rates were pretty heavy on the deals. Yeah. And then you started doing like really larger scale renovations, which took longer, were more complicated from a construction perspective compared to cosmetic flips. And like all of that compounds when you have a lot of stuff going on, and you're in the life of the entrepreneur, and like you're not with a construction background, you're figuring it out as you go and learning.
I was a kid that took a builder's test like 3 or 4 times and failed it. Finally took it and passed, but I'd never touched a house, a tool. I mean, I did the light rehab myself, but that was still pretty cosmetic compared to framing, foundation, basements. I mean, all this stuff was new. But everything I did, I learned by doing. You know, I never shadowed anyone. I never mentored. Looking back, I probably should have done those things. I would have learned more and gone forward faster. But I just learned I trial by fire. I just go get it done. You make mistakes, but you survive. And those deals ended up working out pretty well for the most part. I just realized that this is not something that I can scale and easily leave for like 6 months out of the year. Like if I do this business, I need to check into this job site every single day, even in the winter. And I was like, that's just not who I am. It's not what I want. And so I fire sold some of the properties, sold some of the rentals, kept the rest. And my wife and I jumped in our Jeep and just drove around the country for about 2 months. Just checking out different states, different cities. Went on some fun trips like to Mexico. It was the time of my life. We sometimes would get hotels. Sometimes we would just throw sleeping bags in the trunk and sleep in the car, like run it overnight. It was cheap. It was fun. I had protein powder, so we would make food, and sometimes we'd go out to eat. Like we were just living off the land for a little while. And it was a great opportunity to see what's out there. And when we got to Florida, we knew we wanted to be on the coast. And when we made it to Tampa and St. Pete, those felt like home. And so that's where we set roots. We basically shut everything down as overnight as possible. We just hopped in our car and drove down.